Do you feel crushed, under pressure from the changes going on in this world? Is your desperation greater than your fear? The journey to understanding what you're going through and your transformation starts now with Valerie Trujillo and her show, Love and Light with the Crystal Blue Oracle, healing as a tribe and taking responsibility for it. During this show, get validation for what you're experiencing, and if you're ready, heal your wounds, gain control, and get the guidance to start making the changes that you've been afraid to make. Valerie is an empath, psychic, angelic energy healer and teacher, an artist, shaman, healer, sage practitioner, reverend, master oracle card reader, and a talented intuitive, who will also bring insightful conversations with other powerful healers, readers, and metaphysical store owners to your doorstep. Whether it's a spiritual connection, healing and learning, or connection to your metaphysical needs, you will feel the energy as you and Valerie connect with Spirit for validation, insight, and inspiration. Ready to connect? Love and Light with the Crystal Blue Oracle starts now.
Hi everyone, I'm Valerie Trujillo, and you are listening to Love and Light with Crystal Blue Oracle, healing as a tribe and taking responsibility for it. And we're on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with me for the next hour as we talk about crystal or indigo children. Also tune in with me every second and fourth Tuesday of the month at 4 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Mountain. And I will talk about topics that will help you to heal and see this life in a more profound way. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about crystal children, and then I'm going to share some of my life experiences and as a parent and a grandparent. And then I had my kids who are 35 and 32 or 31 share their point of view. They gave me statements. I caught them off guard as Spirit asked me to do this, that I needed to contact them. So they really hustled for me. Together though, these statements from them and from my experiences are so we can help not just the crystal children, but their parents or the people connected with them so they can navigate this world and be supported. All right. Crystal children are normally they have been connected to the angelic realm. They don't have a choice. They are supported by the angels. Kids going back to 1999 were referred to as crystal children. Though some of them were born before that, as far back as the 60s. And those crystal children from the 60s came to pave the way for the new crystal children that were born and to hold space for them here on Earth. And I'm one of those children from the 60s. These crystal children are so uniquely attuned to energy, light, and crystals. And due to their heightened consciousness, they see, they sense, and they feel on a heart level more than anybody else. And they're more attuned to vibration and frequency. And this helps them to co-create through the use of extrasensory perception. So they are all gifted. They hold more light, and therefore they respond more effectively to sound and light technology. They have a deeper connection to nature, and they're light bearers. They also hold pure energy. They're very honest, and they're compelled to seek the truth. So you need to understand one big thing. These children cannot hide their feelings in order to protect somebody's emotions or somebody else's feelings. They can't hide. If they feel like that person is doing something incorrect, they're going to call them on it. They do shy away from people who don't want to deal with their behavior, with their thoughts, and who suppress themselves. Crystal children have this affinity for being in their heart all the time about right and wrong. They were born with that. So you need to know if you're connected to crystal children in any way, shape, or form, that you're going to be triggered to clear your pain, insecurity, fear, and trauma that's buried within you. You have to be, whether you're a parent or a grandparent or a sibling or a friend of a crystal person who was a crystal child, you're going to have to understand you're going to have to be true to yourself and live by what you preach. Don't just talk the talk, you have to walk the walk, because they're going to call you on it. By being this way, by living the best life that you can live and healing yourself, because you're going to have no choice if you're going to stay around them, you're going to have a resounding impact on that crystal person, on that crystal child and their growth, especially if they're children. They're seeing you as an example, working on healing yourself. It helps them to have more faith in the fact that people are going to be doing that. They also hold the resources to reveal, to clear all these unbalanced behaviors that we have, all the thoughts, all the emotions that everyone has. So in this way, just being around them, you come to find out they are global healers, whether they like it or not. And most people that need healing will come to us. I have this habit of people that are going through things come to me for guidance and help, not just because I'm an empath, but because of all this being a crystal child. So you need to understand that they were born with unconditional hearts. They are connected to their light bodies at all times. And they were born with this connection. They didn't grow, they didn't heal, they didn't let go of something in order to get this connection. They were already born with it. It just opened up at a certain time in their life. They live constantly plugged in to this world of spirit and the earth realm. You got to understand it can be quite hard for them to understand what's going on, especially little children and what they're experiencing. So the angelic realm supports them greatly as they go through this. You'll often hear about crystal children talking about or seeing angels, especially at nighttime. That's when we're open to the other realms. And if your child talks about these experiences, don't go into fear about it. You're going to create fear in that child. You don't want to make them feel bad for what they see or what they hear. You don't want to make them feel like it's wrong. Being different is okay. Going through this is okay. I myself, growing up as a child, a crystal child, was told not to say anything, not to talk to people about what I saw or felt when it came to those things. It made me hide my real self, my true self, and create this identity so I could fit in. And I always felt not behind people, but as an observer, just watching, what the heck is going on? Why are these people like this? What are they doing? And a lot of people don't understand that we can't be there and witness and not say something. We can't be there and ignore it. But having to grow up with a different identity so I could fit in and not be able to talk about those things, it made me hide that identity, my true self. And as I grew up as an adult and things started coming in more, and I had my children who were crystal children, and I knew that when I held them both in my arms. In fact, even when I carried them, I knew what they were. And I had no problem being their parent. And it took me a while to heal through those things that I needed to do, because growing with them, I was triggered all the time to deal with my stuff. And it really, even as an adult, I struggled because My kids call me on everything, and I want them to. I want them to be as honest with me as possible. I want to heal if I'm doing something that's not right, if that goes against of who I claim that I am. I want them to tell me, Mom, take a step back and look at what you're saying, look at what you're doing. Because sometimes my own insecurities come true. Right now, what I'm going to start with is I'm going to read my son's letter. Because I asked them to write me a statement of what it was like for them each to go through this. So I'm going to read my son's first. It's called Growing Up Crystal by Sergio Barba Jr. So I feel the first thing to be said is that this type of growth is a never-ending process. Every ounce of this life, right up to death and journey afterwards, are growing points. Acknowledging that there is just so much to try to explain on what it's like to grow up as a crystal child. Ups and downs, and its ups and downs. It's incredibly lonely and hard, but it teaches one to focus on life's other good qualities. It's double-edged, but it can widen perspective. It's everything but easy growing up as a crystal child. Starting when I was very young, I noticed I was different, not just as a crystal child, but I'm gay too. That young life was hard due to having an alcoholic, abusive father, brown skin, and being lower class, and realizing that I may be gay. A part of the difference that I saw in myself was that I also saw life very differently compared to others around me. Back then, though I reflected the world like a mirror, my core was light, but my surface was dark. Manipulation, lying, stealing, intelligence, and selfishness came easy to me. So outward and inward, love was far between because I had that obvious edge. The lack of connection back then was both desired and a side effect of my issues. And just like each part of my life, it would teach me too. This would help shape how I value true and genuine human interactions. It would help me form who I wanted to be and who I wanted to be around. This edge has stayed with me, but it has softened continuously since back then. I needed that edge to learn what I know now. Many things I've done and many things life has brought me, plus seeing things differently than others, led me to a deeper understanding of myself and a deeper understanding into what may be the consciousness of the universe. That harmony and union of events is what led me to see and accept that crystal child within myself. That depth that I had found in that acceptance was the understanding that every action and moment in all people's lives had so much more meaning than the simple surface definition our society gives them. That depth would be an eventual recognition that in each moment truly lives the infinite. So many moments in this life, good, bad, and ugly, seemed all meant to be. As a child, and to this day, my closest relationships were with older generations, and this gives me an affinity for history and learning. I unfortunately accidentally killed my dog at a very young age, and this taught me the value of life and the ripples of our choices. My early life had a fair amount of exposure to many different religions, and that taught me that there's truth in everyone's perspective and the right to proceed on different paths. There has always been a driving force inside me, that seems to have two goals: to help me to truly understand the experience of my life here and to help me understand that I'm not the only one experiencing life here. Life has always felt guided, like every step I was always right where I was supposed to be. One of my most fulfilling jobs was being a day counselor for the developmentally disabled. I got that job while in an especially dark place in my soul. One particular day, my sister and my nieces wanted me to join them at our apartment's swimming pool, and I reluctantly agreed. I didn't want to be around people in that state, but I put on a brave face and I decided to go anyways. I ended up meeting a person I would become good friends with and happily work for, and the next better chapter of my life. That job helped me grow in a very compassionate way and showed me a side of people and society I hadn't known before. That job showed me what it really meant to be helpless and lost among what people would want to call normal. Even though I thought I knew a great amount about perspective, by this point in my life, that job taught me I still needed to open my eyes. This guidance has always given me choices, even if I choose to fall on my face. As a teenager, like so many of us, I thought I knew everything, and that led me to some odd problems. On a very winter day, two friends and I decided to go for a mountain drive. We had driven this mountain route, so many times before. We had driven in our Colorado snow many times too. But the whole day, issues kept popping up that were essentially saying, don't go on this trip. And I mean, a lot of snow was falling, and cars were having issues, and schedules were being conflicted. It was just one thing after another. We managed to go on our own adventure anyways. After an hour into the mountains, we realized the roads were covered in black ice absolutely everywhere, and we were headed towards a downhill gulch. We couldn't turn back because the snow and the grade of our road. Our only choice was to go forward, and we couldn't even actually stop the car. The roads were so slick. Everything we did caused friction, and we couldn't stop sliding. We ended up slamming into every guardrail on each turn of that gulch, all 6 of them. We ruined the car and then proceeded to limp back home, which took us an additional 3 hours longer than normal. As a child, life's lessons seemed to point towards encouraging me to want to be a student, a lifelong learner open to all experiences. When I was a teenager, the point changed to the acknowledgement that life had depth deeper than the words in Webster's definition. As a young adult, the lesson became about cultivating compassion and connection to each molecule of existence, whether animate or inanimate. In my current form, life's lessons seem to be about faith. Faith in the process and outcomes. Faith in the acceptance that it has always been meant to be. And faith in the message and in the guidance of something more than me. I felt guided, encouraged my whole life, though. Being reminded time and time again that it has always been a choice. It seems a constant problem of mine has always been being able to calm myself just long enough to catch the message of that life is trying to give me. To this day, I struggle. The part I've recognized the most is that life is trying to communicate, both to me and to each of us. That might be what it is to grow up as a crystal child, And that might be why it's so different and similar for each of us. Beyond being protectors, enablers, and audience of this life, some of us are also translators too. I feel like me growing up as a crystal child can simply be explained as my soul has a willingness and openness to receive the message life is trying to give. Really, every moment of my growth can be simplified to that idea that I'm listening and that life gave me the choice to listen. Something to end on is life was never about the destination or the end game. Life has always been about the intent in your heart and the steps walked to get there every day. It's not about getting anywhere, it's about the effort and the energy one puts into the mix. That touched my heart. I knew my son and my daughter had their own issues. I knew that they tried and they struggled. And I knew my gay son was gay when I held him. And I didn't tell him about it. He came to me at 9 and he told me about it. I told him actually, I knew already. And he's like, well, why didn't you tell me? And I'm like, well, that wasn't my path to walk, it was yours. I just am here to love and support him, regardless. And we struggled because he's a crystal child and my daughter's a crystal child. I always, they would fight constantly. My daughter was not on the right path. Well, I wouldn't say not on the right path. She was on a path that was going to help her to grow. And my son already knew what we needed to do. And both me and my daughter were not in alignment with him. So we would constantly butt heads. For me, I did change. I did heal things little at a time. For me, it was like pulling teeth. Ego was in the way, and it was hard to admit when I was wrong. I didn't look at it the way I do now. I didn't look at things as a learning lesson the way I do now. I looked at it as being defensive, like I was always being attacked instead of being nurtured and shown how to heal. And it took me a while to go through it, but then I started going through it, and then my healing came, and then I started doing what I needed to do to help clear my kids' generations, their kids' generations, and the generations that came before us, in order for them to be the crystal healers they needed to be. As a parent, if we don't work on ourselves, we're not doing our crystal children any justice. Yeah, most of us, we don't realize that we came into this world and that's what we have to do. And some people might not like it. Do yourself a favor and heal. Be that example for your children. Don't just tell them what to do and do the opposite, because they're going to call you on it. They're going to remember everything. As adults, my kids remember everything I did wrong, and they told me about it. And because I do love them, I wanted to heal those parts of me that were not doing right, that were not being and walking in love. So I had to find my way in order to show them that they needed to heal themselves too. It comes to the point where being a parent, I had to butt heads with them too, because as I healed more they started pull back. And they're both very much my children, both very stubborn, and they're intelligent, and they're funny, and they wanted to find their ways every single time. They were that stubborn, and they get that from me. I know that now. They wanted to be the one walking their own path, making their own path, not following in my footsteps, but making their own paths. And once I accepted this, it was that much easier for me and for them to heal. As a parent, I don't like doing it, but I had to be strong and show tough love on certain occasions and let them fall on their faces. They had to live the consequences of their actions. That's what we as parents teach them. But it's not just that. We have to live that way too. And I couldn't ask them to do that if I wasn't doing it too. It came to be now that as a parent of not just Crystal children, but now a grandparent, it's so much more love, so much more intention to want to heal. So not just my kids, but my grandkids can walk the walk that I'm walking and know that they're being guided and they're being supported and that there's nothing wrong with them and that they don't have to feel bad for asking or for demanding that people respect them and who they are and their beliefs. The youngest grandchild is, I think, more gifted right now than all of us. She's 4 years old and she's a force to be reckoned with. The oldest of the girls, she's also, like me, an empath and a healer. And she's living that right now. She's trying to get through those and navigate those. And the other two, they're there too. They have their gifts, but they're enjoying being kids. And that's okay too. As they need help and they come to us, we do help them. That's what we do. You are listening to Love and Light with Crystal Blue Oracle. I'm Valerie Trujillo, and we're healing as a tribe and taking responsibility for it. And we're on Transformation Talk Radio. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to explore more about this fascinating subject of crystal children, not just from my perspective, but next is going to be my daughter's perspective. And it's a little longer one, but it's just as intense. We'll see you in a few minutes.
You've been listening, but are you watching? Tune in to your favorite shows on the Transformation Talk Radio Facebook page. We stream live video podcasts every day, and we love to hear from you. Leave comments and questions for the host to address live, on the air, and get to know the faces behind the voices you love. Just go to Facebook and search for Transformation Talk Radio.
Yeah, yippee skippy to that, baby.
Are you searching? Looking for a sign? A message you need to hear? From the great unknown, from the most mysterious place that is the most familiar to your soul in the depths of who you are. The universe put someone here to talk to, someone God gave a blessing to, that you may find insight with. TheAngelLady.net, 1-800-323-1790.
You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. Did you know that when we talk about the Earth's ecosystems, the most important ecosystem has been left out? We created the ecosystem approach to recapture human potential.
Find us at theecosystemapproach.org.
Join us every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and 4 p.m. Eastern Time for the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Are you feeling the complexity of life? Do you feel that urge to step into something greater? Tune in to Nailed It Radio. Find your simplicity within your complexity with me, life coach Carrie Nail. Tune in each month on TransformationTalkRadio.com to discover what it means to use your full power to be the best version of yourself. Imagine stepping into the energy of saying yes to yourself and knowing you nailed it. For more information about me, visit CarrieNail.com.
I'm a big fan of yours and of y'all's wisdom has been very valuable to me. I've been curious, kind of stuck and not sure which direction to go, and having the motivation, to do that as well. So thank you very much. It's a beautiful message. Thank you very much.
It is a beautiful message.
It's very comforting and a great reminder.
Hi guys, we're back with Love and Light with Crystal Blue Oracle, healing as a tribe and taking responsibility for it. And we're on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay tuned with me every second and fourth Tuesday of the month, 4 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Mountain, where we talk about things spiritual, things that are healing, things that move you. And today we're talking about crystal children. My own crystal children are adults now, in their 30s. And they couldn't be on the show with me today, so I had them write me about their experiences so I could read them to you. And I just got done reading my son's experience. I wanted to do this so that you can all see that you're not alone, your kids are not alone, and as hard as it is to navigate through this sometimes, we can get through it, especially if we support one another. Now I'm going to read my daughter's statement. Growing Up Crystal by Savannah Barba. It all seems so funny to me now because I am out of the worst parts, I hope, of my awakening. The parts where I didn't know what was going on and I thought I was losing my mind. In some indigenous cultures and history, I may be the jaguar shaman Nagul, or a lion shapeshifter Marbas, the fifth demon president in Solomon's Seals. But in the age of Aquarius, I am a starseed, planted from the future to lift humanity's vibration higher and to get out of a karmic mud that has been long overdue. In order to do this, to complete my work fully, heal myself, and teach, I signed up to excel in this life, my senior year for a doctorate, LOL, to remember my past lives so I can activate my gifts and hold a vibration with a group of people incarnated to do the same and teach how to heal the spirit, to get out of karma, because that is the end of my journey here. I knew at a young age that this was my last time I'd incarnate, so I needed to have patience with myself and others, to never stop forgiving even if no one understands, and to enjoy the taste of food and feel the love connections with everything I've got. I'm unconventional in my thinking, and that is always evolving. I guess I'm always learning. I see life through my eyes, an individual God spark, starseed. But it's easier said than done when you actually get here. You are veiled, and your vibration lowers. Free will overwhelms the senses. You have to give it everything you've got. Time spent quiet and alone feels more peaceful. It must be to recharge one's energy to rebuild the protective light that you harness for yourself and others. The journey of an indigo starseed or any other wave of light bearers is the longest journey. You go through the dark to find your light and come back, all the while trying not to get stuck again, but to remember who you are. We are here to shed light in many healing forms to others because they are you too. We are one. We are just the same but experiencing through separate eyes. My first memories as a child, I could see a very busy world around me visually and energetically. In grade school, I was asked questions by the teacher about my past, and I answered with this knowing of it being true, not just as I was a child, nor even in this life, which really confused me, my mom, and my teacher. Kids were being sneaky, and I'd say I can't go or do what they were doing because I'm being watched. I spoke to my father, about seeing my great-grandma, whom I've never met, and that didn't turn out so great. She died shortly after me, or after that, and he told me not to talk about these things to anyone. And then soon I learned to keep those things to myself. I didn't hear anything until I was 4 or 5 years old. I remember during a fight my parents were having, a woman's voice from behind my right ear telepathically telling me not to worry and that my life wouldn't always be like this. I went from being so uncomfortable to completely encompassed with a feeling of love that I have never forgotten, and up until a year ago, haven't felt again, which was in a dream I had of me on my deathbed as another person in a completely different life. But I caught a glimpse of myself as me now looking in, and I knew it was time for me to die. Growing up, I would start to see and feel very dark things more often. I noticed the dark attaching things were attached to people too, and they would look at me if I was to get scared. If I was to keep calm, they left me alone. My internal emotion was trained to stay calm, even if they got really big and fast. I taught myself to breathe a certain way, to keep my pulse lowered, even if I had an adrenaline rush. I heard a mouse squeak right before, as a warning of what was to come. 95% of every night of my life, I would be in paralysis, which I called the in-between before stranger things. I would keep my eyes shut so I wouldn't freak out. But I could feel and hear them. So at some point, I did start opening my eyes. But it all got to be so much that I could not go to sleep, and during the day I was hallucinating smoke everywhere I went. I remember that's when I started to smoke marijuana to help me sleep and not feel as much. It didn't last long, a couple of months. I was able to ignore my sensitivities for that time. I was falling asleep, and I would start to hear a woman in my room. I could tell I was still in my room, though, and I could see her in her apartment in another city. I kept a bit quiet, of course, because I thought I was in a dream, and I didn't know what to expect. I felt her feelings of being scared because I was in there, and I felt bad. I was also in my room, and I couldn't leave. I said to her I didn't know what was going on, and I'm scared too. I felt her adrenaline shoot up, and I realized I was not dreaming, but I was there energetically. She couldn't really see me, but she said she just saw a clear plasma. But she could also feel my emotions and speak with me telepathically. I asked if she was still alive, but knew that she was just unsure of if I was looking in her past. Her apartment was furnished like the 80s, 90s-ish, and I was in 1998. I told her I was in Colorado. She was in New York, but she probably thought I was a ghost. I believe I was astral traveling, and she saw me. After that, within weeks, I had looped an hour car ride so many times I thought I was trapped in eternity, and that's when I stopped smoking marijuana. These were my first major astral experiences that changed me. I had been astral traveling since I was around 5 or 6 and didn't realize what I was doing until I was a teen. I've had a handful of near-death experiences. A drunk driver rollover accident, hit by a semi while I was pregnant, and was in an abusive relationship where I was tortured physically and mentally in my late teens for years after. In 2000 and 2001, at age 15 and 16, I had overdosed on sleeping medication purposely to leave. There was much to be angry about in my upbringing and in the abusive relationships I had. But I conjured this anger that was an ancient emotion. I knew it was so deep in my being, and knowing and feeling this could only be described metaphorically as a burning down of a city, with no effort, at a whim, in a fit of anger, with just my mind, no compromising, no turning back. I was so confused because I knew I was so off my path now. I didn't want to hurt anyone. And I signed up for this, I thought. It was an itching feeling of wanting to jump off of a building following me. I was so angry both times I tried to kill myself. I can barely remember the conscious parts, but the places I went in between will forever be ingrained in my being. It wasn't heaven I saw. I was wandering around what one would call hell. That experience is a whole nother show to explain. The most important part was in psych care. That is where you go, and you were made to stay 72 hours, especially if you tried to kill yourself twice. I saw a compassionate moment in psych care of a man who was in the lunchroom trying to make a phone call on a payphone that said out of order. He had put a token in for what had seemed like most of lunch and pleading to someone trying to get through, sobbing. The people around me let me know that he was in a car accident with his wife and his daughter, and they both died. He had tried to kill himself, so he was put into this facility. I realized how selfish I was to put my loved ones through that. I had no idea how this affected my mom or my brother, and didn't even think about it until then. Something bigger than me switched on. This humanity, connective feeling inside, I knew was that feeling of love, an understanding of how big and endless that evil feeling was at the same time. I promised my spirit I would never try to take my own life again. And if I got weak, to send an angel, because I knew from here on I was different, and it was not going to be any easier. If anything, it was going to get worse facing it. My heart was activated. Instead of letting my anger fester, I would go deeper into trying to understand it. Since I could remember I had these gifts, and I am a traveler, so I started on a pilgrimage, to start the process of integrating my fears and realizing truths I didn't even know were there. At least now I wasn't afraid of anything in the 3D astral or the paralysis state, after already being to the lowest, slowest, and scariest plane that I know existed. I didn't die because I was meant to only see it, to know it exists, that it is real, and if I ever needed to go there again, I could. Now, in this 3D plane or astral, I am recognized, and the dark gets smaller around me. I don't know how, but maybe they know I have a remnant about me, because I have been to a place as dark as them, or worse. I can see very clear what they are, and it's not dark anymore to me. The dreams I would have in the in-between were back with a vengeance. I started asking questions to my higher self, not my subconscious, before bed, and I started getting answers. In my dream state, I traveled to see why I had a dark anger, and I had help from a shaman who journeyed to retrieve missing soul pieces that I didn't even know were gone until I got them back. When you live through a traumatizing situation, whether you are the perpetrator or victim, someone gets that soul piece, and one releases it to survive and live. I had 5 that I got back, and since then, I am not the same, and I know I am on my path again. Fast forward a couple years into my 35th year. I was diagnosed with narcolepsy conveniently. Enough Westerners are prescribing pills. But I am choosing to follow my spirit. I am now being forced to sleep so I can astral travel, because past life regression and quantum healing hypnosis is the next chapter in my journey to help others. We are great, or we are greater than oneself. God resides in everyone, and the divine in me recognizes the divine in you. Namaste. Those were the letters from my children, my daughter just now that I read, and my son previously. It being a parent, watching and going through this with Savannah, it was hard. When she tried killing herself, it was hard to sit there and not be able to do anything. But Spirit had contacted me too and let me know she's going to be fine. And they told me each time she tried, not even by her own hand was she going to leave this world. And both of those times I told her. I knew when my kids were having issues, I tried to be there as much as possible. And as a parent, you have to still let your kids make their decisions and walk their walks. But for me and my children, we are tighter for it, everything. From their abusive father that we survived, to living low class and struggling to live at least upper lower class or middle class, no, upper lower class, to now being adults themselves and knowing everything is a learning experience. Everything is a healing experience. That we have to be the example for our future generations, my grandchildren. They have to know that it's safe, and that not just Savannah, not just Jojo, but me, we're all together as the crystal children that are holding space for them. And we're going to keep doing it. And it's going to be full of drama and trauma and mistakes and learning experiences and crying and laughter. But it's all going to be to heal and to make the way better for each other. As I watch my children as adults and how it's made me, because they're crystal children, heal myself and work on myself and be where I'm at now. I wouldn't change anything. Everything in my life that I've gone through, no matter how traumatic, no matter how painful, sorrowful, scary, it led me to this moment. It led me to being who I am. To let other parents know you can get through it. To let other adult crystal children know you're not alone. We can navigate this together. And my kids know that they are examples. And they spread love and light wherever they go. And they've shown my daughter and my son has helped show my grandkids what it is to love unconditionally. We, in this 3D world, set ourselves up for a fight, but the wrong kind of fight. Not to fight what we're doing wrong and to heal, but we're fighting what society has taught us to fight. I'm going to screw you before you screw me. What kind of way is that to live? Walking on edge, walking on eggshells, with people who continuously hold anger and don't release it, who don't try to heal it. That's like a little emotional tornado that leaves nothing but destruction in its wake. When you realize that you do have to show emotion, that you don't have to push it way down and be hard and mean and ugly in order to protect yourself, the whole game changes. When you remember that it's okay to be soft, it's okay to be fragile, it's okay to be vulnerable, because you're healing yourself, because you're showing your kids how to heal themselves. Because as parents, our kids need to know, one, we're not super people, we're not Superman or Superwomen. We're just men and women navigating this life to show them how to navigate it so they can go out into the world. We have to make sure that they understand that there's consequences, that there's not just healing to be done, but life to be lived, love to be shown, memories to make. And we are going to be here clearing our karma doing this. It's important that they know that. Because I'm telling you, I don't want to come back again. I don't want to have to go through this again. I'm not going to do anything that's going to make it where I have to come back, where I have to fight what I'm doing in order to heal. If people understood what it means to face your fears and to heal, the way we know it, there would be so many people doing it. And they'd be doing it with love and compassion in their hearts. And that's how we should be doing it. We shouldn't look at each other and say, you're different and I don't like you. We should be saying, you're different and I love you. The last minute I have, I'm going to talk about things I'm doing this month. I will be doing readings at the Denver Body, Mind, Spirit Expo on March 20th and 21st. My daughter Savannah will be doing readings there on the 19th. That's going to be at the Crown Airport Plaza, I believe, or conference. You can look it up on my website. Also, I will be at the Bella Ulissa Fair in Loveland on March 27th and 28th. And that is I think it's 9 to 6 both days. And to get in that one, at this very moment, you have to get your tickets online because of the COVID restrictions. We're hoping the restriction will go down to blue by then so we can get more people in there. And hopefully I'll be able to see people there. And if you want any readings or healings, or you want a crystal wand or a healing wand to help do your own work, you can see me at crystalblueoracle.com or email me at crystalblueoracle@yahoo.com. The 23rd, I'm going to have a guest, and her name is Chris Griggs. She's an angel intuitive from Colorado Springs, and she was the very first person who did a reading for me to get me on this path. I want to thank my son and daughter, Savannah and Sergio, for sharing such great information, for opening their hearts, and I hope it was healing for you as it was for me. I want to thank all of you for tuning in to Love and Light with Crystal Blue Oracle, healing as a tribe and taking responsibility for it. I had a good time. So please join me on the 23rd when I do my interview with Chris Griggs. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Love and Light with the Crystal Blue Oracle, healing as a tribe and taking responsibility for it. Tune in next time for more powerful conversations spiritually crafted to jumpstart your healing journey so you can own your spiritual gifts. And in turn, shed that light on the people around you so they can do the same. Embrace the confusion, the fear, the strength. Let go of your limiting beliefs. Your healing is in your hands, and it's time to take action. Find your tribe, heal together, in love and light. For more information about Valerie and her services, visit crystalblueoracle.com.
Views expressed on this program are those of the host, guests, and callers, and do not necessarily reflect the views of the station, its management, or advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.